and welcome to the first episode of Hablemos. Let's talk. To get started, first I want to say my thank yous. Thank you to Thanos. Thank you to Elena for helping me with the cameras and editing. Thank you to my wife. Without you, it wouldn't be possible. And thank you to my good friend Steve. He's the one who connected all of this together, okay? This is a show I created to have some fun talking about football, but also this show is dedicated to you guys, the parents and players of competitive youth soccer, okay? This is about the pathway of going from youth soccer to college to professional, right? And maybe if you're exceptional, you're lucky, and you work tremendously hard, maybe you can skip some steps, but that's exactly why we're here today, is to find out if this is for you and if those things are possible, right? And again, the main reason this platform was created was to educate. There's a big disconnect between us coaches and ex-players and directors and the parents and the players. And we need to find out why that is. Because again, our goal is to have the best players in America, right? The elite players in the world one day, right? That was always the goal of US, and that's why we want to understand how to do it, right? Because you have to hear it from somebody who has actually done it, and that's why we're here today, right? My first guest is somebody that I've known for over 30 years, has done some tremendous things in this sport, and with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Aaron King. To go over what Aaron King's accomplished in his lifetime in soccer. He's a 4-time youth state champion, has won the regional championship and a runner-up in the national championship, a high school state champion, 2-time All-State for high school, received a full ride scholarship to North Carolina State, played under the legendary George Tarantini, 2-time All-ACC Player of the Year, Herman Trophy candidate. He finished his college career with his team ranked number 7 in the nation. That led to him being drafted to the MLS. He's played for 9 different franchises over his expanded career, right? Ranging from the Colorado Rapids. He's been to Finland, he's been to Jamaica. And again, one of my teammates for over 10 plus years. Our histories are forever connected. I had to have him as the first guest of Hablemos. Without further ado, again, Aaron King.
Yes. Thanks for having me, my man.
Of course, man. I'm happy and blessed that you're here today.
You couldn't have said it better, man.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, let's just hop right in, man. I've said all the amazing things about you, all the accomplishments, but how did you actually get into this?
Oh man, the streets of Montbello. Yeah, man. So for you guys that don't know, so Montbello, town that back in Colorado. Yeah, a lot of minorities there. Everybody's playing basketball, football, right? And so you remember some of the guys, but Todd Williams, he actually exposed me. Yeah, he said, hey, we're trying out soccer. So jumped into Montbello soccer, and there was just something different about it. Something that I just loved, something that gave me this freedom to just express myself in a different light, than I did on a day-to-day basis. I don't know if you remember, I was real quiet and, kind of reserved. Definitely. But when I got in that field, everything started to open up. So that's where it started for me, man, in the streets of Montbello, just street soccer and just enjoying the game for what it really was.
Beautiful. I remember we used to play small-sided in my front yard.
Oh, come on. Yes.
With Clyde out there slide tackling us.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So tell me a little bit about your youth competitive soccer experience. What was that for you? What are some things that stood out to you?
Yeah, it was exciting. I mean, if I had to pick a word, it was fun, and it was competitive, but it was exciting. We really enjoyed everything we did, not only on the field, but off the field. If you look back, we have so many stories for us coming to amazing places, going to amazing places, but I'd say it was exciting. And that's the piece of it that I can't forget, because you already know those big memories, those exciting moments. Those are those times that stick with you forever. So I say it was exciting, it was challenging, a lot of tears, a lot of joy, but all in all, man, it was fun.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for everyone, he and I have been playing since reversible jerseys. Okay, yes. So we started this experience together. So was it an easy road for you to get to college, and how did the youth soccer play into you getting there?
Definitely not easy, but I will say this, I was lucky and blessed to have the environment that we were in. You know, yeah, guys, he's interviewing me here, but if without us together, the electricity, we wouldn't have been able to make it to that space. But it was challenging. It was very challenging. But the one thing that we had that a lot of players don't have was the environment. We had an environment of players that we all knew what it took to make sure that we were all being pushed. We knew what we needed to say to get our weakest link up to the top, and vice versa, to make sure that the player at the top was still giving love to the weakest link. But we just had this chemistry and this brotherhood, you know, that it was almost like I have to make it because my brother's gonna push me there. My brother's gonna be right there with me. So that piece of it was easy, I'd say. You know, you could count on the brothers, but hey, man, the work that you have to put in, it was a lot. So,
in my head, when I hear you, reminding me of all these things, is I think about accountability.
Oh man,
the word comes to my head, and just each of us holding each other accountable to reach that level.
Yeah.
And I think that was what separated our group from a lot of different groups, is that I wasn't mad at you when I'm telling you to work hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just telling you, like, that's what we needed to do in order for us to get to the next level. And I felt like everybody from the left to right of me was on the same thing.
100%. I think that work sums it up. Yeah,
okay.
Accountability.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What got you to college? Like, what experience? Like, what do you think actually was, what was the turning point, or what was there an actual time that you're like, you started getting the letters from the schools? Like, what was that? What did that look like?
Our youth club, the exposure that they gave us. You know, we missed many Thanksgivings, and they tried to dive into Christmas, but the exposure, the tournaments we were going to, the scouts that were there watching us, that's what it was. You know, they did their work at first to make sure that we were ready, but just remember, man, right? We were on trips at showcases at ages where, why are we going to showcases this young? Well, because players, they start scouting you young, and coaches start reaching out. My process was probably similar to yours, man, getting phone calls every day. Colleges, I had no interest of. I'm telling my mom, hey, tell them I'm not here. But it was a lot. It was overwhelming. That's the word I would use. It was overwhelming how many coaches and universities were reaching out. So,
do you think you were prepared? Did the club prepare you? Did your parents prepare you? Were you prepared for that feeling, that overwhelm?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was absolutely prepared. Obviously, it was new. It was new to my mother. She's not a soccer person.
Right.
You remember Lynn?
Right. The
pressure for me was to perform on the field.
Okay.
You know, that was the pressure, but the success that we received, I felt like we earned it. I felt like, like you were talking about, you're going down the list, we're the best. You know what I mean? Right. It was gonna happen. So we were prepared on that side. I definitely felt like physically we were prepared. If you kind of go back and look at how we entered in freshman year, one of my best moments was, and I know we're probably jumping ahead, but I scored my first college goal. I don't know if you remember, man, in 45 seconds. 45 seconds. It was my first ever college goal.
That's crazy.
And the stamp was on it. It was like, okay, we're here.
Right.
But yeah, we definitely prepared, man.
Okay. What about prepared as far as like the educational and like our forms and the ACTs and the SATs? Like, did you feel like you were ready for that? Because I felt like I wasn't. Like I feel like I'm lucky enough to do well in school and things like that, but I wasn't prepared really to understand how college was going to be. The training sessions with the study hall with How'd you feel when you were going through that?
Yeah, that's a really good point, really good question. Personally, and you probably experienced this a little bit more, but my vision was different. My vision was like, I have to do all this stuff so I can go pro. So I was a little bit more accepting. I can't say I was prepared, but I was prepared to accept that no matter what that was, I'm gonna adapt to it. And the vision is I gotta go pro, so I have to get on this trail to make sure it's gonna happen. This is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. So again, I think I can't say I was prepared, but prepared for what was to come, and my end goal, no one was going to break that. So that kind of made it a little bit easier for me.
Okay.
But ACTs, SATs, absolutely not. I think you spend a lot of time traveling and figuring out ways for your teachers to work with you so that you get the study hall extra credit. So I say that part kind of prepared me when I got to college, right? Because then we already had some practice with traveling and missing classes and that. But it was something that I think I was open to, ready for. But yeah, prepared. The kids today have it a lot easier, in my opinion, with being ready for those type of items.
More resources.
Yeah, much more resources.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of moving forward, what's one of the best advices you could give to a current youth soccer player to at least work to get to college?
It's more than kicking a ball. I'll say that. It's more than kicking a ball. You definitely have to be prepared in the sense that your schedule is now implemented. You don't do things on your time anymore. So understanding. I would give advice like going to check out more schools, going on more visits. Speaking with players that are actually there, trying to see through the coach that gives you all the right answers at the beginning and actually go talk to a kid that has been there for 3 years, maybe from a part of town that you're from, doing more research and not just looking at, okay, these are the top 10 teams. I want to go to this school. Okay, why do you want to go to this school? Are you going to fit into their system? What are you looking to study? Figure out what you want to study earlier so you're not wasting your time. Guys, we don't have a lot of time. So for me, I'd say doing more research and I think it was similar to you, but you got to also follow that gut. I think for us, we had a lot of people calling in, trying to get us to this school and that school, Duke, UNC, Chapel Hill, right, UCLA. But when we went out and visited, and for me, it happened when I got back to the airport, something just hit me in the gut. So that's the place I need to be. But not just jumping into it for the glitz and the labels, but actually figuring out, okay, this is actually going to set me up for success, and not just kicking a ball, but okay, North Carolina, that was perfect for us. Yeah. It was slower. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. We actually had to slow down. We were wild, man. Like, we were busy. Totally. You know what I mean? And so I think just making sure that you do what's best for you instead of looking at those labels.
Yeah, because I think it was so organic at NC State in the sense of we fit in. It was different cultured people, but I didn't do any research.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I'm being honest, like, I just saw ACC, right? I didn't know that they hadn't won an ACC game in 10 years.
Yep.
Right? And I didn't know that we were stepping into a situation that you and I had never been in before.
Yep.
Right? Which is losing.
That's tough. Yeah.
And the fight you have to have, and like you said, the adaptation and be ready for those things is so important. Yeah. But I think if you can fit in somewhere organically, it gives you your best chance to succeed at that level, right?
Absolutely.
Totally. Okay, so let's talk about some success stories, okay? So you have a lot of success, right? You've been successful for a long time. What is one of your youth level successes that stand out to you?
Youth. Wow. Yeah, that's a challenge. Okay, all right. You jumped in with the good one. All right, so I say for me, my most fun time that I had as a youth player was Hawaii regionals, man. That in my opinion, that's when we as a group, we kind of were like, we're unstoppable and we're gonna move that way. We're gonna play in that line of like, I'm gonna say it right, but like confident and almost like arrogant, almost. It's right there. Like, we knew, but we had to do that. We had to do that to make sure that we were successful. So for us, everything went right. Every game, every moment, even the food. I remember the fun we had off the field. Everything just clicked. I say that was my biggest that was probably my most exciting and most memorable moment, as a youth player, was us going to Hawaii and winning regionals, man.
And beating Irvine Strikers.
Remember this? Oh my goodness!
Shout out to Irvine Strikers.
I got to throw that back at you. I want to hear yours real quick. What's yours?
I'd actually probably say that I loved Hawaii.
Yeah.
For the success and the fun. And like a culmination of so much work that over the long years that we had, because I think that was U18 or U19, and that was always a goal for us to go win regionals because we wanted to prove we were the best team in out there. Period. And so for us to hit that and do that was really cool. Yeah. And then I also really enjoyed one hard time for me that stood out was the Nike Premier tournament, and I think it was Bradenton at the Nike campus, right? And it hit me later on, but like you had said earlier, that why were we going to these showcases? Why were we doing these things? Is because there's actually people there looking at you. Yeah. And I was injured. That tournament, but they still got to go. Yeah. Right? And I'm on the bench. And someone came up to me and was like, "Hey, John, why are you out?" Yeah. And I didn't think about it, As a kid, I'm like, "Oh, I have a heel sprain, I'm out," And he says, "Okay, well, dang, we wanted to see you play," and I didn't get it, right? Yeah. But that was a scout, right, from Nike probably or whoever, right? But it was just like, oh man, that kind of pushed me, that experience, right? And seeing you guys lose in the finals to that team that got to go to Paris and to the World Cup and do the World Cup tournament. I don't know if you remember all that. Yeah. Yeah.
It was both to Italy.
And the goalkeeper, I think we lost a shootout or something like that. Or
I don't know if you recall, man, but I was hurt too.
Oh, really?
I saw the video because I broke my foot, so me and you were both out. But I saw the video.
Yeah. It was just the atmosphere in that environment. You're like, this is what I want.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so success at a college level.
Success at a college level. You nailed it in the first few minutes when you were talking about some of the accolades that we achieved. I mean, we achieved those, but when we were ranked by the end. Q, come on, man. I was in the same boat. Like, I'm talking here like I was prepared. I didn't know we were going to a losing team and had and they had won an ACC game in I don't know how many years. Remember this? Right? They had it in the pamphlet that we were able to look at later, but that was when we were on the official visit. Right. But for us to be ranked and just to see, I love everyone that's watching this, but guys, when Colorado came through, we were like, we have to, they call this Colorado out there, but we had to make sure this program was going to be changed. And so for us to be nationally ranked by the end, and for us to, because I'm a big Kobe fan and I respect what he says, but one thing I really like is how do you measure, what's greatness and what's success for him? Can you inspire the rest? And that's what we pushed. It was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for people around us. It got uncomfortable for us, but we had to do it to make sure we went to that level. But that for me at the college level was probably, the biggest moment, because that's something that we did as a whole. I have my, all ACC and Herman Trophy and all that's Aaron, by himself. But as a whole, for us to bring a program out the gates and then to see what happened years after that, guys going pro after, guys trying to chase our records, they didn't get them. They're trying to chase them, but for me, that was huge for us, just to put us back on the map.
Yeah. That's what's up. I think I agree with you. Like, one game that season stands out is when we beat Clemson at Clemson. That was a really fun game. I think it was the most prepared you and I have ever been together. Yeah.
You scored.
Ready. You scored and I scored. Yeah. And I hit the post.
And he hit the post.
But that was amazing. That was amazing. All right. And okay, so at the professional level.
success story. All right, mine kind of is in the same lines as your.
Hold up! Shout out to Stu Holden.
Yes. Hey. Right. Yeah. I thought you. Hey, Stu was nice, man. So professional level, mine's a little different. For me to get back, I don't know if you remember, but I ruptured my Achilles. I was at the pinnacle of my game. I felt like I was 26, playing some of the best soccer that I've ever played. Just that schoolyard soccer.
Yeah.
Like I was in the front yard playing soccer, like the way, that's how I felt. But worked my tail off, got all the way up to, had 2 of the best seasons in my career. I was 3rd leading scorer for the first season when I was at Tampa Bay Rowdies. And then the second season, did the same thing, just came in, just lit the league up. 22 goals in two seasons, huge for me, man. And so teams from Sweden are calling out, offering contracts. I went over to, we were talking about this, but I went over to Vietnam, went over to Thailand, actually signed a contract in Thailand, but it fell through last minute. And then I went over to Finland and was playing so well. Right? Everything was set. How they used to do it was they had your contract set, and then if you were actually that good, you signed a contract. And so I was playing my last game in that. They called it a test match. So I was doing the last game over in Finland, and I ruptured my Achilles. Okay, one of the wildest experiences of my life. Ruptured my Achilles. Went to the hospital the next day. Got surgery from a guy that didn't even speak English. Went to sleep, woke up, all these nurses are in front. So for me, in my head, it was huge. It was huge. And so fast forward a little bit, went through all the rehabbing process and all that. A year later, I ended up signing for Phoenix FC. Okay. My goal was still, I got to play in Europe. I was almost there, but it didn't happen. So I got to play in Europe. It worked out in a way that I never would have expected, but halfway through the season, financial hardships came from Phoenix FC and how it works at the pro level. If they, if they're not paying you or if they can't pay you, it's a breach. And so you can choose to stick it out or you can choose to explore your options. Right. And my agent gave me a shout and said, "Hey, you have an option in Finland again." And so that same season, that's my first season back after Achilles. That same season, I went over in July and played there. I'm talking lights out, like everything, you know how it is, man. Everything you're touching is just top corner. This is here, every touch, just knew supposed to be there. Signed a contract in 2 weeks, and then I played my first game, scored a goal in the first 4 minutes of the time I hit the field. So that was probably my biggest moment, my most exciting moment. There was hardship, there was pain, you start to love pain, man, when you see how it builds you after, how it molds you. Yeah. But I'd say that was probably my biggest soccer experience as a pro.
That's what's up.
And I got to flip that back and ask you the same one, man.
Yeah, man. Kind of similar, right? I think we had talked about it the other night, but playing in Atlanta, the coach and I didn't get along, right? And I tried to leave. Yeah. And I had all these coaches calling me, come leave, get your release and leave. So I get the release. And when I get my release, I call these coaches and no one's answering. Yeah. No one's answering. Luckily, I was really close with the captain of the team and he said, "Come back." Danny Antonio said, "Come back." Yeah, Danny, my guy. And he said, "Come back. And just we want you back. Come back." So I called the coach. He said, "Yeah, come back. You're gonna take a pay cut and you're gonna start on the bench." Right? And I was like, okay, it is what it is, right? I have to eat that. Fast forward, last day you can cut somebody, he cuts me. Right? And he tells me, "Hey, I have nothing, I can't do anything for you, you can't do anything for me." And it was an issue because at practice he wouldn't play me in the games. So at training, I was going super hard. Right. And I was probably playing some of the best football I was ever playing. Yeah. But he wouldn't play me. So the reason and the way I got to Atlanta was because my original coach who drafted me to Puerto Rico told me, "Hey, I'm gonna be going to Atlanta, meet me there." Right. So, cool. He's now the head scout at Chelsea. He's connected, so I'm gonna listen to him. Right. He didn't show up. So of course, that's the first person I call after I get cut by the guy in Atlanta. And I go, man, you kind of messed me up. I was just fine in Puerto Rico. Life was good. I'm on the beach. I'm chilling.
Yep.
You told me to go to Atlanta. Okay, I went. Now it didn't work. Now what?
Right.
He called, and I call him. He says, come to my house. I'm actually in Atlanta. Come have dinner. So I go over to dinner. We sit down. He offers me an opportunity to go to Chile and play. But he says, now you got to go play forward. Right, and I hadn't played forward since we are in reversible jerseys dang there, right?
Yep.
And so I remember the first night we ran out the tunnel, and the explosions are going off, and the flares and the fireworks, and to think that I was in the deepest, darkest place with the game at that time to end up running out with some amazing players that I got to play with, like. Some of my friends on that team won, the South American Championship, beating Brazil, So I think that was my best experience.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, what do you think the most difficult thing about soccer, football, is for you?
In what aspect?
In actually the game, and when you were playing, like, what do you think the hardest thing was for
Okay,
you?
I like that. All right. When I was playing, we're all perfectionists. We all want it to be exactly the way we envision it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we used to do mental imagery before games. Mental imagery, do it.
Please,
You can see it.
Please.
You have those, those out of body experiences you have. You can actually control them if you see it before. So for me,
you have to see to believe.
Oh man, and that's another one. So for me, it was controlling that voice, not controlling. Let me stay away from that. Accepting that voice, that critical voice. Okay, it's not negative. The critical voice that said, Aaron. Oh, you think you're fast? He's faster. Or you're good here, but you need to work on that. That little voice that always found a way to challenge me to be greater, right? Accepting that voice and then trying to turn up the volume of that voice that rocks that line that you're like, you're one of the best players. You're on the best team. So just making sure there was a balance in between, accepting that voice, and then turning up the volume on that positive, confident voice that a lot of people fail to do. So I say that the mental element, you hit on that in the first minute or so, but just the mental element, the mental aspects of the game, that was my biggest challenge.
I think when you say those things, it's like EQ. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you're equalizing, right? Like you're turning down the treble and turning up the bass a little bit so that the music sounds appropriate.
Yes.
Okay.
It's always gonna be there. It never leaves. Right. I can promise you that.
Right. Okay, so how do you overcome that?
For me personally, it was just becoming obsessed with the whole process. This process was out of our control to an extent, but there was a lot we could control. So I mentioned mental imagery. That's just taking time before every sort of soccer event. I got kind of obsessive. I started doing it for training. Like you guys don't understand. Our training sessions were like games, and that was the difference. Because then when you got to the game, you're not nervous because you're already playing this way at training. We're not taking it off. We're not pros yet, so we can't come to practice and play 50 and expect to be 150 at games. It didn't make sense to us. Like that was the accountability piece that we all drove. We knew like if this dude wasn't rocking, we weren't gonna win, and that's what it came down to. So the mental imagery piece, right? Making sure that before games and trainings, I was seeing myself do well, seeing myself score, seeing myself make that run, being the fastest on the field. I don't know. But just seeing the mental side, and then training. I'm sorry, guys. Training. That was it. That was the piece that, you can look in the mirror at the end of the night after the game, still crying, upset, didn't go this way, or crying because you crushed it. But you knew that all week my opponents, they train 3 times a week for an hour, but nah, I was waking up at 7, running. I was going to practice early, getting 30 minutes in. After practice, staying, and then after training, maybe going to the gym or doing a little extra work, but just training so that it became muscle memory. You know, you don't just get muscle memory by playing video games and, you know, watching the game as well. You know, that's another mental piece for the mental imagery as well. But just being obsessed with refining myself every single day, you know, and you know, you think of no days off. I mean, we went to a point where, we were going. You know, no matter what, we were doing something that got better. So
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah. Those are some amazing points, man. I think that mental side of the game is so important. And even the training, I agree. And I think looking back, one thing I would probably change, even though we were going 24/7, 7 days a week, is I even see some kids today who have that training all the time and their parents are willing to pay for that extra training, but are they working on the things that are actually making them better, or working on things that's your job? And that's what the coach is expecting of you. Are you training on that part? And I kind of feel like no, in the most aspect, because I don't think even I did really, right? As I probably could have, where I've been like, hey, your left foot isn't as good as it should be. And I should have just done nothing but left foot until I felt good, right? Yeah. And I think too, like you said, watching the game. Yeah. Like I think we were laughing because you guys used to come over to the house, watch Sky Sports News, right? Yeah. And that's when Manchester United used to be, you know, on top. Oh, yeah. David Beckham and all, you know, and so watching the game, and I think training with the purpose, right?
I want to build on that, man. You gave a great point. I don't think these kids are being honest with themselves, though. I think that they go watch the top players, Mbappe, you know, Messi, Neymar's, and they try to emulate them, okay? And in some cases you can. In some cases, maybe that person moves like you, maybe that you have the same attributes, but they're trying to recreate themselves into someone that they'll never be, and then you miss the mark. You miss the mark, and in their brains, they truly think I'm doing everything I can to be the best me, when really you're copying someone else, and the benefit is not going to be the same. It's not going to be organic, because you'll never ever reach that pinnacle. You'll never reach it. So them really understanding, and you're opening up a new can of worms here, but them really understanding and like actually listening to what the coach wants from them, the expectation that the coach has set, and saying, all right, this is what he wants, this is what he needs, this is how I'm going to develop. I trust this coach, trust this club, I've done my research, and I have to actually buy into the system and buy into what he wants from me.
Hold on.
See, I'm jumping ahead. My bad. All right. But yeah, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, respect. No, I am. I mean, like, even me, I remember there was like a little brief portion in that NC State where I wanted to be like Cristiano Ronaldo. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do the things and all that, but that ain't me. Right. You know what I'm saying? That ain't me. Yeah. So, okay. Moving forward, right? Okay, we're almost done with the soccer, and we'll move on to the deep part. Yeah. What was the biggest sacrifice you had to make your dreams come true?
You know, you were kind enough to give me the questions. I actually struggled with that one when I was thinking about how to answer that, you know, because I wanted to say that I gave up fun, you know what I mean, to reach my goal, and I never enjoyed life, and I did this and that. The biggest sacrifice that I gave was not giving up on my dream. That was probably the biggest sacrifice, is no matter what the cards give me, no matter what my financial situation was, no matter, you know, if I was in a slump, if I was playing great, I'm going to make sure that this dream happens. So my vision never got blurry. And I said, this is because I have to make sure that, you know, Aaron King, he's not gonna be here every day. Or, you know, there's one day I'm done. And so for me, I had to make sure that I I gave myself as much as I could by not wavering from that idea that I was gonna be a pro someday. So just being honest and true to myself, and not letting anyone else ever tell me that you could not. It sounds cliche, but I actually bought into it, and it didn't change. It didn't waver one time in my life.
Excellent. How did that sacrifice of believing in your dream and not letting anyone deter you from that, how did that affect you in your personal life?
If you can recall, man, I didn't talk much, so I was a listener. Honestly, I didn't really start talking until like get comfortable. I didn't really start getting comfortable until like high school with you guys. Right. When I came to Smoky Hill.
Right.
But I was able to kind of, and you hear this all the time. But I was a different person. I was a different person. I almost had like two different personalities. Right. When I was on the field, it was this guy, and then off the field, I kind of sat back. So I struggled. I struggled a lot with identity. And now that I'm saying it, probably connect it. But I struggled a lot with identity. I didn't really know like who I was.
Wow.
It was more like, I know that I'm amazing at soccer, but off the field, where do I show up in this world?
Right.
You know, because it's a disconnect. It's really lonely when you are an elite athlete, you know, of your field. It's lonely. Like you can't really connect with the everyday person. Right. That's the best way I can put it.
No, I agree with that. I think even to this day, I still feel awkward, right? And not able to really communicate sometimes the things that I truly feel. Right. It is lonely.
Yeah.
It is lonely. But hearing you say that disconnect, right? Like I can see that, you know, and I don't even necessarily think it's a terrible thing, honestly, because I even try to tell my kids, you know, that I coach, and I say, you don't have to be the same person over here that you are over here. Once you cross the line, it's okay actually to be someone different. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I like that. These sacrifices and the things that you're realizing now as a grown man, right? How do you think it affected your loved ones over the time?
Wow. I think they got to see a lot of growth. I think they had to meet the sacrifice as well. They had to understand that, yeah, we want to have Aaron at Thanksgiving, but we know that if he doesn't go on this trip, you know, this whole house, the energy in this whole house is a wreck. You know what I mean? So they had to get on board. They had to make sure that they were supportive. They had to deal with the pain, the tears, you know what I mean? The crying and the joy and the highs and lows. And so I think that even helped them. The travel, right? That helped them kind of, I feel like I kind of pruned them a little bit into really accepting Aaron King for who I was and what I wanted to be and you know, what my goals were, you know, without being too opinionated. Because like I said, the sacrifice for me was, I don't care what you say. I don't care, you know, you're not going to deter me from this path. Right. So
do you think that some of those relationships that you've had with your loved ones suffer a little bit because of the dedication and the focus?
Yeah, I think I absolutely. It almost there's this sense of jealousy at times because if you can't do something like us, like, you know, if you can't really say, okay, boom, this is what we're doing, locked in, boom, I'm gonna do it for 30 years straight, 20 years straight. You look in the mirror too, you know, and you're asking yourself, dang, you know, what are my goals? You know, Aaron's working hard every day, but I'm not doing this. And so then even
your own family, right?
Oh man, absolutely, my own family.
Yeah.
And so I think it made people kind of look in the mirror with themselves, and then they didn't mean to, but maybe subconsciously it kind of came off in a way that was like, oh, you know, that's thick. So I'd say, yeah, it was a challenge. It was a challenge, man.
Okay. Yeah, I've always looked at myself as like a mirror, and it's kind of funny that you brought it up because I felt like people would look at me and then feel a certain way because they would start to compare
Right.
They'd compare their life versus my life, and then all of a sudden they don't like me, or they feel like I'm arrogant or egotistical when I was being the most genuine I could be.
Right.
You know, and I heard a quote of like, somebody who's fake, their job is to make you feel like they're all great. And then somebody who's real, you feel a little uncomfortable initially, right? So
like that.
I'm okay with it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Now let's move on. Okay. We're gonna go to kind of coaching now.
Let's go.
Okay. I know you have a big title now, and you know you're a big coach, and you know you're holding down the alma mater right now, which is amazing, right? And I love to hear it. Before we jump kind of into what your title is and everything like that, to close up what we kind of just went over, football, growing and going through the process and the pathway, what are some challenges that a youth player faces today that we didn't? What are the things that they're going to have to do that maybe you and I didn't have to do?
You know what? Distractions. Distractions. I think that
technology,
you know, all these other sports, you know, not to say they weren't around, but now you have so many new, you used a great word earlier, but they have so many resources. You know, you got kids thinking they can just wake up and tomorrow they can be the best basketball player just because mommy signs them up for a camp or daddy signs them up for a camp. But distractions, you know, I feel like we had one distraction. Well, myself, Sega Genesis, PlayStation, and that was it. And the only game I owned was FIFA. So we go play FIFA. Oh, that's a cool move, right? I used to love when they have the new moves out. Go play, and then, like you said, we play FIFA for a little bit, and then we go play outside for 4 or 5 hours.
Right.
And so distractions, in my opinion, are the biggest thing that I'm noticing these young players are running into.
Okay.
You know?
They don't have that tunnel vision no more.
Oh man.
Yeah. What advice would you give them, right, to overcome those distractions right now that drag them in 10 different ways at one time?
Right. I'd be naive to say that, you know, I'm not excited, you know, that they do have the resources. I think, you know, if you circle back, I'm sure we've talked about it before, but what if we had those resources too? You know, what if we had amazing, you know, we can just turn on YouTube and boom, right away. We can go, oh, that's how you do that? Boom, we just practice. And so
that's a good point.
Use those distractions to your benefit and make sure that you're being honest with yourself though. I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but just being honest with yourself, you know? Maybe you're not the fastest player on the field, but your goal is to be the fastest player on the field in 2 weeks, you know, and that just because you're going to a camp, right? The best speed camp around, it's you got to be honest, you got to be realistic. So the best piece of advice I would give is find a mentor, you know, maybe that's a coach you trust, but someone that's already been through it. Essentially what he's doing right now is just dropping the knowledge. Hablemos, right? And then just making sure that it's someone you trust, someone that you're willing to, you know, let down that guard and have them help you. So I guess get help. You know?
Yeah, okay. I respect that. So what are some things that you feel youth players think are true to get to the next level versus what is actually a fact to get to the next level, right? Because there is a disconnect.
Yeah. All right. I mean, if we're being honest here.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not obsessed, I mean, absolutely obsessed with getting to that next level, putting in the work every single day, you know, refining, you're not going to get there. And I'm not talking you have to be all in. You have to be fully committed. Like, you can't be interested. You have to be committed. That's the difference, you know? I'm interested in going to the next level, but I'm not willing to put in the work every day, you know, to get there. It's a long process. it's a long process. You brought up a great point. You know, I call it the non-dominant foot. I don't call it the weak foot. It's just the non-dominant foot, because you call it the weak foot, your brain starts clicking and it's weak.
Words
are powerful. Weak. You know what I mean?
Words are powerful for sure.
And so you have to become obsessed with the process. You know, and I you know, I hope some of you guys, you know, out there watching, you're not afraid of that word. It's a good word to be fully, you know, ingrained in something, in your craft and a dream. You know, it's over one day, and you have this much time to get it done. It's a long process. It's really, really hard to get there. And then when you get there, staying there is another challenge. So just making sure you understand that it's not for everyone. Don't feel like you have to go pro just because you like watching pro soccer. You got all the gear, you got all the stuff. It's something inside of you that will allow you to push through any obstacle, you know, whether it be good or bad. Sure. So I'd say, yeah, it's very challenging.